Dalgarno Ward, and I will be chairing this hearing. I am joined by my two councillor colleagues who will introduce themselves. Before I let them do that, I just want to say that I have no declarations of interest to make.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Councillor Malcolm Spalding for Earls Court Ward, and I have no declarations of interest in this case.
Good afternoon, I'm Councillor Sarah Addenbrook. I represent Abingdon Ward and I have no declarations of interest.
I will now introduce, and to make sure that people are here, the other people who are attending. First of all, should be you first, shouldn't it? The legal officer.
Good afternoon, my name is Lindsay Lemazurier and I'll be assisting the committee today.
Thank you. Licensing.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Paul Phelan. I'm the licensing officer for today's hearing.
And governance. Anne Wright.
Yes, present, Chairman.
Thank you. Gareth Ebenezer. Tom McColgan. And also present from the applicants are Natalie Phipp. Which one?
Yeah, Natalie is my assistant. She's not joining today. I'm on my own. My name is Yilmaz Oytun Pakcan.
I'm sorry, your name is?
Yilmaz Oytun Pakcan. I'm third in the list.
Fine, thank you. And Mr. Pio Manzi, would you press the button in front of you and just confirm that you're here?
Okay, yes, it's Pio Manzi. Me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very tired. I'll go through the procedure because not everybody here will be familiar with it. At the beginning, we will ask the applicant to state his case. He will have up to 10 minutes and he will then be subject to questions from the committee, from the legal officer and from the objector. That will be followed by the objector making his case, and he too will have up to 10 minutes and will be questioned by the committee, by the legal officer and by the applicant. At the end of that process, we will withdraw as a committee to consider our decision in private. Are there any questions? Do people understand the process? Are you happy with it?
No. Yes, I understood, yes.
Sorry, I do beg your pardon. Could I ask the licensing department to outline the case before us, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, all. Today's application has been submitted by SKT Counter Limited for the grant of a premises licence at 108 Goulburn Road, W10 5PS. The premises historically benefited from a premises licence which permitted late night refreshment both indoors and outdoors, and the sale by retail of alcohol on the premises only. A copy of the lapse licence can be found at Appendix A, pages 6 to 14 of the main bundle. The application before you today seeks a sale by retail of alcohol, both on and off the premises from midday until 11 PM, Monday until Wednesday, midday until midnight, Thursday to Saturday, and midday until 10:30 PM on Sunday. Late night refreshment both indoors and outdoors from 11 PM until 11:30 PM, Monday to Wednesday, and 11 PM till midnight, Thursday to Saturday. The applicant has also proposed several several non-standard timings. A summary of these non-standard timings can be found on page 2 of the main bundle. A full copy of the application can be found at Appendix B on pages 15 to 27 of the main bundle, with the supporting plan attached at Appendix C on page 28. I can also confirm that this application did not attract representation from any of the responsible authorities. The licensing team received one valid representation which opposes this application. A summary of this representation can be found on page 4, with a copy attached at Appendix D on page 29 of the main bundle. Council records indicate that the premises received no noise complaints over the preceding 24 months. Council records also indicate that no temporary event notices have been submitted within the preceding 24 months. I would like to draw the members' attention to page 2 of today's report. The report notes the hours sought as 11 p.m. until midnight Thursday to Friday for late night refreshment. This should in fact read as 11 p.m. until midnight Thursday to Saturday. My apologies for this oversight, Chair. That concludes the summary of this application. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. Could I ask the applicant to outline your case, please? And I would remind you, you have up to 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Oytun Pakcan, and I'm the one of the partners and the director of the counter, which will be a restaurant. We are the new leaseholders of 108 Goulburn. The landlord has not changed over the years, from my understanding, but we've recently leased this place at the beginning of the year for a 10-year period. Actually, no, it's longer. It's a 20-year period. And from our understanding, this place was previously run as a restaurant. It was called 108 Garage, but it was not open for a number of months due to COVID, and then the lease was terminated. So I just would like to clarify that we have no relationship to the previous tenants or the previous occupant here. I believe Mr. Manzi had some bad experience with his neighbors in the past. So it's important to clarify that. Me and my partners, we are experienced in the F&B sector, and we have various other restaurants and alcohol licenses in different councils. And so we understand our responsibilities clearly, and also have to manage our relationships with our neighbors. On this occasion, I'm not going to take your time just going over the application, because you have all the details, but I will just quickly address Mr. Manzi's concerns. I mean, looking at his objection, it was actually more about the music rather than alcohol, because of the past experience he had. In our case, yes, we will be playing music as the law permits us. I believe we do not require a music license in our venue, as long as we play it within the permitted limits and play it as a background music. In terms of the alcohol license, again, this unit did have alcohol license before, when it was run as a restaurant previously. The street itself is mixed use. It's a market street. There are market traders throughout the week. Some are on permanent basis, some are on temporary basis. And we also have various neighbors, such as Pizza East, and at least 4 or 5 of them, which we named in our applications, who run as restaurants, but also do have alcohol licenses. We have a back door that looks into a mews. And Mr. Manzi also mentioned that he had concerns about the use of that door. Now, we will not use that door as entrance or anything. Our entrance is going to be from the front of the premises. In terms of the garbage collection, I'm not yet sure where it happens from, but I think it has happened from front of the unit. But again, these are matters actually not necessarily related to alcohol license or the music level, which is in Mr. Manzi's concern. But we will do everything as the law permits us when we run this restaurant. Yeah, unless you have any questions for me, I don't have any other comments. Everything else is in the application.
Thank you. Could I start by just clarifying a couple of things with you? Hope you're comfortable now. Could I ask you, you said that your family have other restaurants in other parts of the country, the world. Can you tell us where they are and whether any of them are in similar positions to these particular premises?
Yes, we own two businesses actually that both have alcohol licenses. They're both within Westminster. One of them is a coffee shop on Avery Row in Mayfair, which we actually recently got an alcohol license during COVID to be able to serve wine in until 10 p.m. That is quite similar to this because we also have some residential neighbors, and it's a mixed-use street. And also we own a business called Market Halls, which is a much larger operation. It is there's one in Victoria, there's one on Oxford Street, which is a big pub with food traders in it, and about 50% of the revenue comes from wet sales. And it's a venue with security at certain times due to the occupancy, and open until late night.
I believe you said that you have no intention of using the back door to the premises. Is that correct?
I said we don't have any intentions to use the back door facing customers.
So it would only be used by staff?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Could I ask my other committee members to... Councillor Addenbrooke.
So just on the point of the back door, sorry, is this working? You've now said maybe staff. Will you be taking deliveries through the back? And you were unclear about waste collections.
Yeah, so in terms of the deliveries, I believe we are allowed to take deliveries from the back. But again, that is, I believe that is not really related to alcohol. It could be any kind of deliveries. And then in terms of garbage collection, we did not yet get engaged with a waste company, but from my initial research, I believe it does happen from the front.
Thank you. And what about staff smoking?
As far as I know, my staff does not smoke at the moment, but obviously stuff changes. So I don't know what is the law. Can they smoke in front of the back door or not? If you tell me we're not allowed to, then we won't.
So I think maybe the rubbish collection and deliveries and smoking we could look at in conditions probably a bit later in the hearing.
Okay.
Councillor Spaulding.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, it is normal you ask, but we normally put conditions on all alcohol licensed premises about the hours of deliveries and when the doors can be opened, when they have to be shut, and this is to reduce noise to nearby residents. So whether you want to think about that and tell us, or we can put conditions on the hours of those doors at the back.
Yep. So I believe those conditions have already been added on our application and the support documents, which was prepared by my solicitor.
We have, and you will have been circulated a paper on what conditions might apply if we were minded to grant the licence. We will go through those later. This is a general question as to whether you accept the idea or not of having that type of condition.
So my questions are, it looks like a really attractive restaurant, a great improvement, and the menu looks really good, and it's a Turkish theme. So my question's about the front of the restaurant.
Yep.
You supplied the diagram, the red line, which shows the premises, the licensed premises. So you can only serve alcohol within those red lines. So that leads me to a couple of things which seem not explained. You provided another seating plan in your pack that shows a space for the pavement and then more seating where the market stall would be.
Yeah.
And you've shown some black lines showing the seating. Now, if you look at the photograph you've supplied, yes, the tables which have got glasses on are within the red line, but you seem to have extensions sticking out onto the pavement which go beyond the red line. So I just want to be clear. Do you understand that you can only serve alcohol within the red line? And so if you want to serve alcohol out here, you're going to have to look into a pavement license, which is separate from this.
Correct. Yes, we've recently found out about that, and we did make an application to a tables and chairs committee. We spoke to a lady called Karen, who is now inquiring with the market to be able to get that space for us. I believe it is through a negotiation with the tables and chairs department and the owner of the market, the Portobello. So yes, we are aware that for the market side, the bay, we need a separate license to put tables and chairs. Correct.
Just to make it absolutely clear, your tables that you can have, here, you better check that you've got planning permission for that, or check that you're not going to go over that red line.
Sure.
Start encroaching on the pavement, because that would breach your license. Yeah.
Understood.
Legal, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to seek clarity. The objector has obviously raised concerns, historic concerns about use of the flat above the premises. There was some enforcement action previously. Can I just confirm that your lease and your intended use only relates to the ground floor? You won't be using the upstairs area?
Yes, that is correct. Our lease only includes the ground floor. And by the way, something I forgot to add, we also tried to meet with our neighbors through this time. We had the opportunity to meet with two of them. We didn't have a chance to meet with Mr. Manzi until today, but we sent him a letter, which I believe he also has a copy of it right now, which we also included to the support plan.
It was very easy to take my phone by every neighbors, everyone. I never received anything.
Mr. Manzi,
sorry.
your turn will come. It's not appropriate at this precise moment, okay?
Can I just seek clarity from licensing in terms of deregulated music? Can you just confirm that the applicant won't need any special license to play incidental background music as part of the restaurant? I believe that is the case, but if you could just confirm that, please.
Certainly, that is the case. It would fall under the deregulated entertainment of the Live Music Act 2012. So there's a set criteria in which recorded music and live music is no longer regulated. The part of that is to do with a license that permits on sales, and in other instances there's no requirement for that. So absolutely, yeah.
And just one more question, please. If I mean, obviously this application does not relate to the parklet terrace, which might be granted in relation to the street traders pitch, but if the applicant were to get permission from tables and chairs licensing, would any drinking in that area be an off sale, or would they require a separate license?
In terms of the plans submitted, which is part of the bundle, the licensed area is clearly shown in red. Any sale outside of that area would constitute an off sale. If the applicant does decide to submit an application for a pavement that is not included here, then that would have to be facilitated by way of an off sale.
And the applicant has applied for off sales as part of this application?
They have, yes, that is correct.
Mr. Spaulding.
Thank you again, Chairman. Sorry to pursue this point. On the diagram that you supplied with the red line, it shows one door at the back as a fire exit only. But on the photograph you've supplied, there seem to be 3 doors. Can you explain which is your door and how it relates to the plan that you submitted?
So yes, we have one door, and that is the one on the far right, which has an iron gate in front of it, and then there's another door which says number 35. That is the entrance to the residential, not above us, I think, but to the next door.
Sorry, can I just clarify? There's 3 doors in this picture here. You're saying the one on the far right is the entrance to the restaurant, number 108, and there's 2 doors. Is the one in the middle leading to the flats above, and the one on the end leading to number 35?
Where can I see that page?
This is your additional submissions that you submitted. Anne, can you perhaps, it's the 3rd page of your submissions. If you could just show the picture.
Can I just look over there until I find this? Oh yeah, I got it. Yes.
It's just the 3 doors you've referred to 2. Can you just clarify that the one on the far right is the entrance to the restaurant?
Correct, yes.
The one next to it, is that the entrance to number 34, the flats above the restaurant? And then the 3rd door, is that the entrance to number 35?
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Manzi, would you like to ask the applicant any questions? You will have 10 minutes to make your own case later, so it's just questions about what he's already said. Thank you.
Sorry, what? I received the letter yesterday. I don't know when you sent, but I received the letter yesterday. I tried to call you, and I didn't receive an answer. You have all the way in the world to find my telephone. You spoke to 2 tenants. They have my number. You said you knock my door. Not true. nobody knocked my door. So we start very well. This is the same thing that happened with garage. Oh wait, very nice, very friendly. Then they threaten me. Then they, hordes of young people coming out for alcohol, they threaten me. There is a police.
Mr. Manzi, I do appreciate this is a very difficult situation for you.
Okay.
But could you ask the applicant a specific question about what he's trying to get the license for, please?
Okay. Night deliveries are illegal. Do you intend to make night deliveries while I sleep? Do you intend to your staff to intend to come out of your restaurant smoking after drink, or customers? You said that they are not allowed in, but they will be allowed to smoke outside. Drunk, screaming, day and night, every day. That's what will happen. That's what happened. Do you allow them to smoke outside and your customers to smoke? Let's say smoke, because then mobile phone all day, night, outside. Do you allow your staff to stay on mobile phone, to congregate outside? Do you allow to take the sun, as it's happened, 3 mobile phone every day? Do you allow that? And according to the sentence of the inspectorate, my flat is easily detectable noise and nuisance in my flat. What happened? I am sleeping and your staff will be laughing, screaming. I can tell you the story of life of people, of the staff of the previous restaurant. It's like to have someone, as you see in the image, is in the corner. The noise doesn't go away.
Mr. Manzi, I think you've made your point very clear. Could I ask the applicant to respond, please?
So when we initially checked the site, we realized that the installation is not particularly good, and considering our neighbors, we'll spend money on improving the installation of the site, so that the background music, although it will be within the limits and the boundaries, it'll affect you less. I think due to the material that was used in the ceiling before, it was it's steel, and it might be transforming. The music sound might be transferring easily, so we'll be taking precautions on that. That's what we've identified. I understand that you had a bad experience with your previous neighbors, and I can understand that you just don't want to have the same experience again. So I mean, we're there. We'll, reachable. And I really tried to contact you. We've actually get to meet 2 other neighbors, and we asked about you as well. I personally was on site, and actually I was told by one of your neighbors that just go and stand there. Mr. Manzi will find you. You don't have to find him. He'll come to you. But we couldn't reach you, and I couldn't find your number. That's why we chose to write a letter. But you still did receive it yesterday. But again, it doesn't matter whether you received it yesterday. Still, we are, we're willing to do what we need to do as a neighbor within the boundaries of the law. And I appreciate your age, and but having said that, this is a market street, and it's a busy street, and there are, it's a mixed use street. So I appreciate that we would probably be more peaceful elsewhere, but we will, try to be a good neighbor and do everything within the boundaries of the law that allows us.
Can I ask you again? Will deliveries be allowed? Every deliveries 10 times a day, 20 times a day is a noise. The muse is not in a marketplace. The muse is not in the marketplace. The muse is a silent muse. Will you use the muse? Yes or no? Will you use the muse for congregation of staff, for congregation of a customer? At midnight every day, there will be 20 people outside your door, the back door. There will be, or not, or you close the door, or you completely forget moral muse, and you concentrate on the market street that is noisy. And then maybe you can allow a little bit more noise. About the music, can you, my question, do you close the door or not?
So, as I said before, the back door will not be used by customers. We will not let customers go out of that door, have their drinks outside. They're anyway not allowed to drink standing, and we're getting the license for the front, not for the back. So that will not be an area used by the customers. One thing we're also changing at the moment, that back door is opaque, so it doesn't get any light in. And I suspect, previously, the previous operators might be opening it all the time to get sunlight from the back, whereas we will make that through full glass, soundproof glass, obviously, so that we can get natural light during the day, even without opening the door. But if it's very hot outside on a hot day during the summer, we can keep the door open, just like you keep your windows open. And in terms of deliveries, again, I don't know the answer. Are we allowed to have deliveries from the back? Because it is convenient to have deliveries from the back. We would want to have deliveries from the back. Obviously, it is within the hours of the proposed hours. But no, at night, we will not, answering your question, we will not have deliveries in the middle of the night disturbing you. And for the customers who are leaving, we'll put the necessary signage to make sure that they don't disturb you as they leave the premises.
Can I ask other question?
I think we're trying to clarify at the moment.
Okay.
If you just hang on a second, Councillor Addenbrook.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I don't actually know this muse. So is it a very residential muse, or are there other businesses in the muse?
To me, you ask?
I believe there are businesses in the muse as well. So it's mixed, but there is no retail. But I've seen that there are. It's also part of it is used as storage space for some of the businesses. So they keep it open through the day and come back and forth to collect their stuff. I've seen this over the last few weeks since we have the lease, and I have seen also businesses within the muse, and it's an L-shaped muse, which
Can I?
please.
Can I answer?
Can I just, without, you've actually answered one of the questions I was going to go on to. Is it a straight muse or is it L-shaped? You've now said it's L-shaped. But Mr. Manzi, maybe you can tell us a bit more as you live there.
Yes, there is the back entrance of many business. In the muse, there are back entrances of many muse, but not, for instance, there is a coffee shop. You don't see nobody. And by the way, they work in the day, not in the night. But you don't see anybody going out. But when there was garage, also you have to consider one thing. This kind of restaurant, let's call them restaurants, they are for young people to enjoy life, which they are entitled to do. I am happy if they enjoy life. No, my back door, no on top of while I was sleeping. This kind of place, a place that produce noise inevitably, not if, but, or what. The music and alcohol together.
Mr. Manzi, could I just ask you another question about the muse, please? So is the doors, are they at the
Sorry?
The doors, are they at the end of the muse? So you'd have to go into the muse and then turn to the left or the right. Are the doors at the end of the muse?
Which door?
So
Can I answer the question?
The door to the entrance of the flat and to the restaurant, yeah. Is that at the end of the muse?
No, my flat is on top. You can see my window, my only window, because I have a studio flat, is the first, on the first floor, the second floor, on top, the first coming from the left.
I can help you to answer. It is at the corner of the L.
No,
So
it's not at the corner. No, it's not on the corner.
Please, would you close
You are not in, not this.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Manzi. I think we've got a little bit confused about what's going on here and trying to sort it out.
Yes.
Could I directly ask the applicant if he would be willing to keep his back door closed except for emergencies as part of the conditions of any licence we might be minded to grant?
So answering your first question, it is actually at the corner of the L. So it is right in the corner. I think you can see from there. And this is a restaurant, so it will. I mean, we have other businesses. I don't know. We have greengrocers, for example, which get deliveries at more odd hours because they come from the fruit and veg market at 5 a.m. in the morning. But
nobody is going to come into the restaurant from the back door.
No customers are going to come
out through the back door, except in an emergency. So, would you be willing to have a condition which says that the back door will be closed at all times except for emergencies?
No, I wouldn't be able to accept that. I would like to use the back door for deliveries and also to get simply fresh air inside. And when the staff take their break, they may just step out for a short period to take their break, because the kitchen is closer to the back door than the front door. So it is just natural for them to step out there. May I ask Mr. Manzi a question?
Not at this stage. He hasn't yet presented his case.
Okay,
when he does, you will be able to ask him a question. I wanted to ask a further question in the hope of clearing this up a little bit. Mr. Manzi has indicated that he is very concerned that your staff might use the muse itself to have a break, to go for a cigarette, etc. That, again, could be avoided if you were willing to accept a condition which said that staff could only smoke in a designated smoking area, which you'll need to define, but which is not at the in the Mews itself. Would you be willing to accept that kind of condition?
I wouldn't like to restrict where my staff can take break, because the front side is more the customer facing side, whereas the back side is going to be more suitable for them to take their breaks. And Mr. Manzi correctly said there are no retail businesses at the back. There are other kinds of businesses. And my question was how the other neighbors he is dealing with, and if he's happy with them, and what are they doing right that the garage people didn't do right. I just wanted to understand, because it's not only us, right? There are 2 doors next door. On the other side of that door 35, there's a business which also owns an alcohol license, and they serve wine, and they also have a door at the back. And so did you have problems with them before? Or was only the problem with the garage restaurant?
I should have asked a question, not you. But anyway, they close in the night. The business you are talking about, there is nobody, never. And they are closing the night. So all this fuss, the problem is the Mews is retaining the noise. If your staff is calling his mother, one of your staff, I will tell you exactly what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I hear everything like he was in my room. That is the situation. It's certified and stated by a center about the Mews in general. So
I have one final question for the applicant. How large a staff do you envisage having if we grant this license?
The restaurant itself is not very big. It's only about 65 meters square.
No, I don't mean the capacity of the restaurant. I mean, how many staff will you employ?
Yeah, that's where I'm coming to. So it's anyway, the number of covers is going to be only 35 people. So the amount of staff we will need to serve this many people is not a lot, right? We're going to have 3 people in the kitchen.
Sorry, say again?
Yeah, we'll have 3 people in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And 3 people serving, and these are the maximum numbers. This will be the stuff on a Saturday or a Friday, for example. On other days, it will be less. So we won't need, it'll be more like a 2 and 2, 4 people, rather than 3 plus 3.
You're saying 6 staff in total at the peak of performance of the restaurant, is that right?
Yes.
6.
Yes.
So even if they were using the Mews to have a break, there would only be 1 or 2 of them at any one time, because they can't. The restaurant has to continue.
Correct. I mean, they can all go on a break together.
Okay, thank you. I think that we'll draw questions to the applicant to a halt now. So please turn off your microphone.
Say again, sorry.
I was going to now ask Mr. Manzi to present his case, please. You have up to 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, I will start to say that if they, did you hear me? Yes. If maybe in a month's time you want to hire, maybe because the business is going well, I hope if they give you the license, you go whether you hire another 10, as the garage did. It started to feel went well. 18 people, 3 cigarettes a day, 3 phones a day, at night. How much they are? How much noise in my room I have to cope with? You are not prepared to close that door. On my way, my opinion is that you should not be granted the license. I don't know if I am trying to talk something I wrote down just because my English is not well. So I don't know if you need to read what you want a copy of what I'm trying to tell you. Do you want?
Sorry, we have seen that. We've already.
No. This is a new one. Is it?
Oh, well, I'm sorry. You can't introduce new.
Okay. Allora, I read it. Allora, I live from 2011 Moral News, just on top of the entrance of 108 Goulburn Road. In a sentence, the planning inspector stated that any noise of disturbance will be easier to detect for residents living in the various flats that are in close proximity. Even if the sentence regarding the use of the flat on top of the back entrance, two very important points were made. The easy detectable noise and nuisance, and the good living condition for occupants of neighboring building. Much of the noise for which the sentence was clear was originating in running the business in night delivery, music, early morning and night, staff congregating all day, drinking after work, customers high on alcohol, and all that damaged my health. After all, the silence is a necessity for the mental health of people. The sentence on the inspector is clear. The noise in my flat is easier to detect. You will receive complaints anyway, and not only by me, because people who bought houses in millions, 4 million, in a quiet mews and discover noise, disturbance. Exactly what happened in the garage. How could you stop? It took 3 years for me to stop what you were doing, 3 years. So if you give the little license to them and they start to do night delivery, how can you detect? I could not stop that for 3 years. How can you detect if the door is open, if people go out? The night, if you call, they come 2 hours later, the people in the people of the council. I have to stay all night hoping that they come. And when they come, sometimes they also witnesses that they threaten me, and people. So the owner of the place is the same. It's not changed. Why you want to give a license to the owner who made who disregarded the neighbors, the inspector, and the Royal Borough Council of Chelsea, who had to send enforcement note also after that sentence. These are the people we are dealing with. Now, if you give the license, for me, it's the end, because for 3 years I had to fight them. I don't want to spend another 3 years to fight against the unjust and inevitable noise that the granting of the license will cause. It's not something that can be avoided. People think and music and noise are 3 things together. In a muse that has been recently closed for the car. So now the car, only one direction, not the other. It's been closed for making, probably, I don't know the reason why they closed, but probably because they want to make the news more without noise, without pollution and without danger, because it was, anyway. The other thing that I would like to speak about is, of course, the environment of the news. You know, immediately if you open and the open door, you will receive complaints. People who bought the house just in front, just 1 month ago, another 2-3 months ago, you buy us in the news because you wanted to. It's not in the market that they bought the house. They bought the house in the news. And one thing is very important for me because I witnesses the problem is the fatigue I have, the work I have to do to the law be respected for years. It's not like if they put a night delivering, then I call, they come, they stop. No, it took how can you detect a night delivery? How can you detect people's phone? If people is on the phone, raise the voice just a little bit, how can you say to him, please stop? They say what you want, and they threaten me. But the noise don't make me sleep. And it won't be 6, it won't be, no, I don't know how many will be, but there could be 20. Because there is no limit in the license to other people. The business said there is no receiving complaint in the next 24 months. Everything has been closed the last 24 months. That's what I want to do. You know, we started very unwell. You know, the phone, the letter, all this confusion. That's exactly what happened with the garage. Then we know what happened. So we start with like that. Do you imagine what happened later? And in the street, Goulburn Road, there is one venue, night venue, is alone outside from the world of, is completely, the whole building belongs to this music business, who, by the way, was owned by the same owner of garage before. It's not in the middle of residential properties. And I doubt very much that you can obtain in that building a music that don't make enough noise to disturb me and the rest. And by the way, if you see me alone and there is no others, I tell you why. First, I didn't say anything to anyone. So most people don't even know that there is a license because when under the garage open, I didn't know. Second, the owner of the building is the landlord. So the owner of the building is the landlord of all the people living there.
Mr. Mounsey, you have 1 minute left.
Okay. So they cannot complain. And when they complain anonymously. That's why I am alone here. But I won't be the only one who will complain with the borough, with the council later. Believe me, because I repeat, music, alcohol, and noise cannot be separated. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Addenbrooke.
Mr. Manzi, I think you said that the mews had been closed to cars.
Yes, no, in one direction. So people don't.
Okay, so it's a one-way street.
It was one-way street, so people don't use. Very rarely use, apart from people who has the car. But if you have to pass through or something, you don't do this.
Thank you. And then the premises next door, do they take their deliveries and have their waste collection from the front or from the rear?
I don't see noises. I don't know but I don't see noise. So probably they will receive from the.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm not sure. I don't know. But anyway, it's okay.
Mr. Manzi, Munro Mews is the back of all those commercial premises
yes.
on Goulburn Road.
Yes.
And from what you're saying, and you live there, I get the impression they don't tend to disturb you too much, or the other premises. The one that really worried you was the previous garage with their staff and smoking and telephones.
Night deliveries.
And deliveries at night.
Night and day.
And all of these things, stopped you sleeping and affected your health. And you could hear them. Yeah. So we've got to try and find a way around this. But if you've got a commercial premises where you live, if you live on top of a shop, you can't stop the shop operating because it's a shop. That's its planning use. It can be a restaurant. So we can't stop it being a restaurant, but we could try to improve things for you. So what do you think would be reasonable hours for the restaurant to have deliveries or to have waste if it's collected at the rear? What would be sort of the reasonable hours?
For the waste, I have no problem. It's no, because to be fair on the garage, they brought in a place a little bit far, so I don't have a problem with the waste. The problem with the open door is that you cannot, if you don't stop the door to be open, they can always try to find a way to get away with.
Yeah, well, that's what we're trying to do for you.
Yeah.
We're trying to help you. See, it's a door of a restaurant. They're allowed to be a restaurant. They're allowed to have deliveries, and it's a public road. So the only control we can do is if you suggest what hours can they have their deliveries. You could say nothing before 7 a.m. and nothing after 11 p.m. Or would that be too much? What do you think would be reasonable for the restaurant?
I don't know exactly, because the problem is, I repeat, there is these very important things. Once you give the license, I know personally from my experience, whatever hours you say, if they say come at 6 instead of 7, until I call, let's say that I want, and how can you stop it? Well, it cannot be a person's nature.
I can answer that and suggest what you're saying is if we set hours and they break the hours, they can lose the license. And they won't do that because that's their business, depends on having a license. So if we set the hours, they will have to obey them.
Night delivering is illegal anyway.
Yeah.
And they did it for 3 years.
Well, that's why the other places go.
Well, it doesn't matter. So if they can get away, why not it?
I would suggest then for you, so that you can sleep quietly.
Yeah,
I would say
I'm saying that if you fix hours.
7 a.m. and nothing after 11 p.m.
7 is too early. It's too early. You have to make 9.
9. So from your point of view, 9 a.m. till what time at night? How late at night?
9 in the night.
9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would satisfy you completely.
Yeah, on the basis that if they do, you tell me a way to stop the license to do them, because I couldn't find out in 3 years in the night delivery. I cannot stop that.
Yeah, so that's one thing, deliveries and waste.
But the most important thing is the mobile phone and the staff.
And staff.
Because you don't stop.
Then we come to another question. Would it be a good idea if the staff, as the chairman suggested, the staff have to move away a bit from the mews to take their break? They have a designated place where they have to go.
Of course. What is the problem? I mean, I don't.
That's good. Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
You know, as long as anyway, again, how can I enforce if they instead they open the door, which is not closed, so they open and they smoke there. How can I stop? If I say, please, you can do, how can? There is no way for me. I proved for 3 years.
Yeah,
And
but I
they-
think you answered the question already, so thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. I don't really have any questions, but I just wanted to clarify a few things. I think the applicant made it clear that he's got no connections with the previous owner of the premises, and also he's made clear that there isn't any use of the upper floors, because you've obviously referenced the planning inspectorate decision. So I just wanted to just make it clear those 2 points. Thank you.
Can I answer? Can I say one thing? The owner is the same. The owner of the owner of the premises is the same. The
Are you
one
talking
they
about
get
the
the money,
freeholder?
get the money from the rent is the same.
Are you
So
talking
you
about
are
the freeholder or the
The
leaseholder?
freeholder.
Yes, the freeholder's the same.
Okay, so
But the leaseholder, the new
Yes,
premises
but
operator
in
is
this
completely
way-
different and not related to the other previous restaurant. That's my
No,
understanding.
but you are giving a price, a good to someone who infringed the law, and you have put so many time. You put hold on. Enforcement notice. The Royal Borough Council Chelsea put so many enforcement notice to that person, and now you give him a license. He discharged the sentence. He did against the law things, and you give another license so he can get the money. And I don't sleep. That is the injustice of that.
I understand. I just wanted to just make it clear those 2 points. Thank you.
Would the applicant like to ask any questions, please?
That I would like to ask any questions to Mr. Manzi. May I ask, what are your sleeping hours?
My sleeping hours normally will be midnight at 9 o'clock.
Midnight to 9 o'clock.
My sleeping hours, more or less.
Okay. And I've also had a chance to speak to some of the other neighbors to understand, their feelings and just to introduce ourselves. And also they were senior citizens.
Other residents are not objecting to this application. Please direct your questions to the objector.
Okay. No, but just their experience did not seem as bad as yours.
What is a question to me? If what is my opinion? They are tenant. The people who are talking, they are tenant of the landlord, which is the same owner. When they complain anonymously, because they cannot complain, because the landlord is the same over the landlord of the owner of the place. So forget it.
But the landlord only owns that building. There is the building next door. There is the building the other door,
Yeah.
and
The one on top of
not all of them are owned by the landlord. And they're free to complain as much as anyone. Maybe you say they do it anonymously,
yes.
which they can also do. But on this case, they did not object because I think they kind of face the reality of living on a busy London on a market street. And I think your experience is particularly bad due to the previous tenant, and I hope our relationship will be different. No, I have no further questions.
Moro Muse is not a marketplace street. It's the third time you say the same thing. Moro Muse is not a market street.
Mr. Manzi, I think we're going round in circles here a bit. So you've said that you would be happy with rubbish being collected and food deliveries between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. in the Muse. Is that correct?
It's not a big deal for me, these two things. They are music and noise and mobile phone.
We're not talking about the music. We're talking about food deliveries and waste collection. Normally, most premises we put a restriction on between 20, well, in fact in the conditions we got 2300 and 0800. Now if we put a condition on the licence that is at the front, but in the mews it would be 9 AM to 9 PM, would that be acceptable to you?
The only thing acceptable to me is not giving it the license. This is acceptable to me.
Mr. Manzi,
Well, you want to know? That's my question. Yes, it's better than having delivery in the night, of course.
So in principle, you're agreeable to a condition being put on the licence that any rubbish collection and deliveries in the mews is acceptable between 9 AM and 9 PM.
On the basis that you must give me the way to complain and obtain the closing of the license if they don't respect.
But at the front of the premises, it would be the standard condition of 2300 hours to 0800 hours that there can be no rubbish collection and no deliveries.
No, what regarding the main entrance, I have nothing to do because I have one window.
But you agree with the 9 AM to 9 PM?
If you give me I agree. If you give me an answer to this question, if they don't respect.
Mr. Manzi, if it's a condition of the licence and rubbish collection is taking place before, after those times, you can complain.
For the rubbish complaint, I don't have any question whatsoever. So forget for the rubbish collection, I have no problem at all.
And the deliveries?
No, the deliveries, yes, of course. I said to you, okay, it's better than nothing as long as.
Okay, so we're agreed 9 AM to 9 PM in the mews.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I think we've reached the end of the presentation and question and answer sessions. We will now go on to consider what conditions might apply if the committee were minded to grant a licence. Hand over to legal.
Thank you, Chair. Right, everybody's been circulated these draft conditions. The wording in black is what the applicant has offered. The wording in red is where I've tweaked. So can we go to the first condition, please? Now, I'm going to be mainly directing these questions to the applicant, Yilmaz, but obviously, Mr. Manzi, if you have a query, then please chip in. So, Mr. Pakan, can you confirm, are you happy with my alternative wording to condition 1, the CCTV wording? Your conditions 1 and 2, it just basically condenses it and puts it into the council standard format.
Yeah, that's acceptable.
Thank you. Right, number 2's incorporated in number 1. Turning to number 3, I've just slightly tweaked the wording so it's in the council's format. Are you happy with my red wording in condition 3?
Yes.
Number 4. Again, it's just slightly reworded.
Number 3, sorry, I can intervene?
Which number are you wanting to talk about?
Can I intervene?
Yes.
So
Which condition are you talking about?
Number 3.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I complained in 2016 for the noise. I complained again in 1917 and in time. At the end, because there was a problem of the flat, I addressed my complaint about the flat, but still they were disturbing me with the music, and there was nothing I could do.
This isn't about music. This is about noise from plant or equipment. This condition 3.
Yeah, but how can if they?
Yeah. Sorry, I think Mr. Phelan made it clear that the applicant can play music between the hours of, is it 8 AM to 11 PM, background music. That is deregulated, so it's something we can't condition on a license.
That's why I expect you don't grant the license,
Yeah.
because they will ruin the music. I have been fined 3 years to stop.
I understand that.
So if you give the license, they will let music.
This whole condition session is only if the committee are minded to grant the licence. Every single
Okay, no.
application, we go through these draft conditions. This is
My
something we do.
point is that you can control the music. Once you give in the license, they put the music.
Any
If-
premises, any operator that
Yes.
goes into the premises can play
Yes,
music.
yes.
Doesn't have to be a restaurant.
Yes, but you know that they are opening a restaurant with the music in the residential area.
It's a mixed use area, but
Well,
yes, they're
mixed
entitled
use,
to it.
by mixed use, no, because on top of the premise there are 4 tenants. On the other side there is another.
Okay, I think we've taken on board your concerns about the music.
Yeah. So what is the point to?
Because we need to go
like
through
that?
these conditions.
At the end, they do what they want. That is the point. You must be careful to give a license because there is no way to stop them.
Any licence granted, if granted, will be tailored by conditions which would mitigate any concerns. These are the conditions that we're discussing at the moment. Obviously, we've explained the music condition. It's deregulated between certain hours. We have no controls. It's taken out of the council's hands. This condition 3 that we're looking at is about noise from plant or equipment. Now, I understand the applicant has said that they've done some acoustic works or they've spent money doing some works. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Are you happy with my red wording? So,
Yep.
Thank you. I've just slightly tweaked your proposed condition 5. Are you happy with that? The extra words in red.
Yep.
Right, number 6, patrons permitted to temporarily leave and then re-enter shall not, e.g. to smoke, shall not be permitted to take any drinks or glass containers with them. Are you happy with that?
Yep.
That's your one. Number 7, I've just slightly reworded. Are you happy with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Number 8 is just our standard wording. Are you happy with that?
Yes.
Right. Number 9, again, it's just slightly reworded, so it's in accordance with our model condition. Are you happy with that?
Yep.
Number 10, now I've added some words here. You've said the sale and supply of alcohol shall be to customers seated at tables by waiter-waitress service. And I've added the additional words and shall be ancillary to a substantial table meal. So this prevents people just coming in for drinks. Are you happy with our wording?
I would like to be able to serve customers drinks, alongside maybe a nuts or crackers, or is that considered substantial food?
That's not substantial. So what do you envisage? Do you envisage people just coming in for drinks and nibbles, or is your business model drinks with food? Obviously, if you agree to this condition, this is what you'll be held to.
So it can be both. It can be nibbles and drinks, or food and drinks. So it's there's going to be a sharing menu. So it can be 2 people can share 2 plates or 3 plates, or sometimes they might just want to have nuts to start with and then change their mind, have a food. But we do not want to restrict the condition to just
Can I
food.
intervene?
Councillors, do you have any comments on this substantial food point?
Can I intervene?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Can I intervene?
Yes.
That was exactly what happened with the garage. And a night place with music in the middle of the road, Portobello Road or whatever, Goulburn Road, is for people, young people, to go there and get drunk. That's what happened. That will happen for the next license. And the next license, they will.
Can I just intervene here? all the clientele have to be seated at tables. They can't be like a bar standing up having vertical drinking. So the question is here, they've still got to be seated at tables and served by waiters and waitresses. But the bit I've added on is they've also got to have a substantial meal. That's the bit I'm questioning. And the applicant seems to be saying otherwise.
What happened, it used to happen, is that the people drink and come out on the mews. That was happening, was what was happening.
Well, they can't come out into the mews anyway because they're out the front. But
Say
okay,
again?
so we've taken on board.
No,
the applicant,
they drink, they go on the front, they drink and they go on the mews.
okay.
That's what was happening. The entrance from Goulburn Road, they have a snack and drink, and then drunk, they go out to smoke in the mews. That's what, and 1, 2, 3, 5.
We can have a smoke condition later on, I think. We can come to that in a minute.
Yeah, the customers will not be allowed to smoke in the news. That was one of the conditions that I was ready to accept.
Last bit again. You're ready to accept that last bit, did you?
Yeah,
say?
the customers will not be allowed to use the back door.
Yes, we've heard
that's
that. Yeah.
already.
Okay, so you're not keen on having those additional words.
Yes,
Correct. Thank you. Right. Obviously, that'll be for the committee to decide.
of course.
Number 11, no change. Number 12, I've just slightly reworded. Are you happy with that?
Yep, all good.
Number 13, now this is the bits, so we need to be clear what delivery, so do you know, so in terms of Goulburn Road and Munro Mews, will you be using the council's waste collection or will you be using a private contractor to take your waste?
Yeah, I was going to comment on that actually. So we didn't decide yet. We're obviously going to get quotes from the rubbish collection is much earlier than 9 o'clock. So I don't particularly understand why it would be different for a restaurant with an alcohol license. Do you know my point? I mean, I understand that Mr. Manzi sleeps until 9 o'clock, but even if there was no retail there, still the rubbish collection would be for everyone on the street would be before that.
Do you know if the council rubbish collection takes place along Goulburn Road or is it from Munro Mews? Do you know?
I do not know the answer.
I know, Goulburn Mews, in Morrow Mews. I
So
have no problem.
the council rubbish collections from Munro Mews.
I say again, maybe the gentleman doesn't understand me. I don't have a problem with the rubbish collection of any sort.
So you'll be happy with the hours between 2300 and 800, but obviously they'll be tied to the council collection times anyway.
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. So that's refuse. In terms of depositing rubbish outside the premises, where will you be putting your rubbish? Out in Munro Mews or on Goulburn Road?
Wherever it is collected from. So if it is collected from the Mews, like Mr. Manzi said, then we would put it outside, obviously. And I think there's a window when you can put it before the collection. I think it's a certain amount of gap. You can only leave in between.
2 times.
Okay, so you're happy with those times in my proposed condition anyway?
Yeah,
Thank you.
which is the same as ours, right? It's
Yes.
just the wording has changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
The collection comes 2 times a week.
The council collection comes 2 times a week
Collection come Monday and Thursday in the morning.
from Munro Mews. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Commercial collection, yes. And in terms of deliveries, so do you anticipate your deliveries will be from Munro Mews rather than from Goulburn Road?
Probably both, but Munro Mews would be more convenient as our storage is at the back. And in terms of the hours, again, it's businesses don't get night deliveries really. So our restaurants, let's say. So in our case, the morning is going to be, as you know, most suppliers bring in earlier hours instead of 9 o'clock, like Mr. Mosey suggested. Yeah, we're likely to have more early morning deliveries within the hours here than evening deliveries.
So right, so let's split it into Munro Mews and Goulburn Road. I'm aware that weekdays Goulburn Road has market traders down it, I believe.
Correct, yes.
So let's talk about Munro Mews first of all. I think the suggestion was not to have deliveries before 9 a.m. and not after 9 p.m. What is your view on 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for deliveries from Munro Mews? Is that too restrictive, or I mean, you're saying that deliveries are early? Are they earlier than 9 o'clock?
Yeah, I think it is too restrictive. I think it should be same as the refuse collection.
You think between 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. What is the? So you said that deliveries don't go on that late. What is the latest time you'd receive a delivery then?
I mean, I don't think we would receive deliveries at 11 o'clock.
What time do the traders leave the pitches on Goulburn Road?
I think
So you might be able to take deliveries from the front rather than the back.
6:30.
Okay, so perhaps an option for the councillors to consider might be having an earlier terminal time for deliveries at the back, so that Mr. Manzi isn't disrupted by deliveries, and then say deliveries after 8 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. to give the traders a chance to clear up and go. Will be from Goulburn Road from the front. Is that something you would consider?
So I'm happy to restrict the evening time at 9 o'clock, as Mr. Manzi suggested. That's fine, because the evening deliveries are very unlikely. But in the morning, it should start earlier.
What, 8 a.m. as suggested in the condition?
Where is this condition suggested?
So it's number 13.
Correct. Yes, exactly.
You suggested 9.
Yeah.
9 to 9. 9
Right, so we were talking, so Munro
Mews 9.
You want 9?
No,
Mr.
The gentleman said, okay, 9 o'clock.
So I'm just asking Mr. Packham what his view is.
9 is fine, yeah.
So Munro, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. you're happy deliveries from Munro Mews. Same for Goulburn Road? I mean, you might be restricted during the day anyway.
So for the Mews, I'm happy for 8 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yep. So not 9, so slightly an hour earlier. You want 8 till 9 for the Mews, and for Goulburn Road, you do the normal.
Correct.
8 till, I don't know, 2300.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the normal. Okay, fine. Thank you.
So basically, happy to compromise on the evening hours for the Mews deliveries.
Yes. Okay, fine. Thank you. Right, going on to number 14. Again, I've just slightly reworded. Are you happy with that?
Yes.
Right, the next conditions are ones that I've suggested, having read all the papers. Are you happy with 15 and 16? That's just requiring your staff to be trained in the terms of the Licensing Act, standard condition.
Sorry, can you repeat again? Sorry.
Sorry, looking at suggested conditions 15 and 16, these are additional conditions which I have suggested in addition to the ones that the applicant has suggested. And these just require staff to be trained in the terms of selling alcohol and the Licensing Act. These are standard conditions which we'd expect to see on a licence. I'm just asking the applicant whether he's happy to agree 15 and 16.
Yeah, this only applies to the floor stuff, correct? Not to the kitchen. So it's only people who are selling
Who
it.
serve alcohol.
Yeah.
Yes. Right, number 17. So this is if you get a pavement licence.
Yep.
To place tables and chairs on the forecourt area, the immediate area, not the traders' pitch, just the within the red line. Obviously, noise and nuisance can be a problem. Are you happy to clear customers from that area after 10 p.m. and until 10 a.m. when you start trading the next day? Are you happy with that?
So this was our proposed condition, right?
No. These are, so number 15 onwards are my suggested additional conditions.
Okay.
Because you haven't offered them, but these are conditions that we as a committee would expect to see on such a licence. So I'm just asking your view. you've obviously got to go away and get a separate pavement licence, and pavement licences usually require tables and chairs to be put out away by 10 p.m. at night. So I'm just asking, will you also make sure the customers are cleared from that area between 10 p.m. and 10 a.m?
So we would like to be able to use the pavement area within the same hours as the our immediately front part, which belongs to, which is within our demise.
You don't own the pavement area in the front. I've done a land registry search. You just own up to the building line.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So I think you're currently asking for on sales. Well, Monday till Wednesday till 11 p.m, Thursday till Saturday till midnight,
Yep.
Sunday till 10:30. So what I'm saying is just in the outside bit, I think if you get the separate tables and chairs licence, I think they usually ask that they're put away at 10 p.m. at night. So I'm trying to coordinate and synchronise this condition. Would you also be willing to make sure the customers are kept off that front outside area after 10 p.m. so it reduces noise and disturbance?
So the forecourt area is not the pavement.
Yes, the pavement, but not the traders pitch, not the traders pitch.
Not the traders pitch.
Yes.
For our side of the pitch.
Yeah.
I would like to be able to use that area within this same time of our restaurant use,
Okay.
of our alcohol permit time.
Can't have it. I think, well, obviously it's for the councillors to decide, and also just thinking further. So I understand you want the same, but obviously it will be for the councillors to decide.
course.
And just thinking further, if at some future point you do get a parklet terrace,
If we get
that will be off the traders pitch.
Yeah.
That will be treated as an off sale. So
Yeah.
if your customer's going to sit out there, because it's not within your red line, it will be treated as an off sale. I'm sure there'll be conditions again on that licence that require them to be put away by 10 o'clock. But I think also I just need to go away and have a think whether this condition would also apply to off sales. Would you be willing to make sure the customers are removed from that parklet area, the traders pitch area, by 10 p.m. as well?
So if the pavement use times are different, if there are certain boundaries around that, we're happy to accept that for the tables and chairs license for the market section. But for our immediate front, we would like to be able to use the number of tables and chairs we put there for more extended time than 10 to 10 that you are proposing, if you allow us.
Yeah, I think you'll find that if you do get a highways licence, you'll be required to put them away by 10 p.m. anyway, so you wouldn't be able to have customers out there. But obviously that's a separate regime. The councillors will go away and can make a decision on this point. I just wanted to see what your view was.
Yeah.
Okay, and the second part, sorry. Oh, that's part of the licence, isn't it? And I've just clarified, no food or drink shall be consumed by customers on that front court area unless they're seated at tables.
Correct.
So you're happy with that? Okay, thank you. Right, number 18, are you happy with?
Yep.
Number 19?
Yep.
Number 20?
Can we do this one time a year?
So you'd like a residents meeting once a year rather than twice a year? Okay.
I mean, we can do it twice a year, but I just thought, I don't know what is the norm. If you think the reasonable is 2, I'm happy to accept that. Just raise
Okay.
my idea.
That can be for the councillors to decide. And you will notify ward councillors, local residents associations, and perhaps number 35, Monroe Mews. Mr. Peer. Thank you. Right, number 21, are you happy with? I don't know if you're going to have a Deliveroo service or not.
We may, no, it's especially during times like COVID, it's a very important addition to the business.
Can you address this point? Because this is a very important point. Because it's delivery come from moral news. It's the end. It's a noise, boom, 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 all the time, night, especially night, when they deliver. And also, we talk about smoking, but congregate and mobile phone.
In Monroe Mews.
In Monroe Mews.
Okay.
These are the problems. It's not that they smoke, who cares? It's the problem is that when they smoke, they congregate and they are mobile phone all day and night. So they should be allowed 6 or 20 people.
So the purpose of this condition is for the applicant, if you are going to have like a delivery service, you need to have a policy in place to kind of restrict any nuisance to neighbours. Are you happy with that condition?
Yeah, correct. I mean, I think there's a confusion where we won't be serving alcohol to the delivery drivers. So even though we don't have the alcohol license, there can still be issues with your neighbours about delivery.
My question
that's outside of the
to
scope.
the applicant. This is about delivery services. I think Monroe Mews is completely inappropriate for delivery motorbikes and congregating. It's going to recreate all the problems that we're trying to solve for you. So would you commit to, as part of your delivery plan, that the couriers can only pick up from the front of the premises? Because from your point of view, it's a great temptation to use that rear door. And I would strongly urge you not to, and just to use collections from the front, from Goulburn Road. Don't use Monroe Mews, because these drivers all congregate and it will lead to many complaints against your premises.
Look, I understand your point. Having said that, I think that the delivery service is outside the scope of an alcohol license. So I think that is, I mean, I can understand how a delivery service can disturb the residents, but I think that's...
If the delivery service is going to be containing alcohol and also non-alcoholic products, it can fall within the scope of the licence. We have looked into this previously.
I use delivery services all the time, but I've never ordered an alcohol from a restaurant, to be honest. So I think what I'm talking about is really the food here. And
but would you, I think Councillor Spalding's asking, if you do have a delivery service, are you happy for your drivers to collect from the front of the premises rather than the rear?
So if it's when my sit down customers are there, obviously I wouldn't be keen on a delivery driver walking into a restaurant and which is not very appropriate with the ambience of the restaurant. So I'm happy to keep them under control for how they should collect and put the certain signage and the necessary warnings, as you have suggested here. But I think it shouldn't restrict my ability to deliver from the back door. But let me ask you, I don't know, is this related to alcohol license?
Well, any deliveries, anything that causes public nuisance, which is linked to a premises license, yes, it can be conditioned.
Okay.
So we'll go away and think about that point. But obviously, we've asked you the question, you'd rather not be restricted to the front of the premises.
Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah, you have to turn yours off.
Me?
No. It's fundamental to a license that you won't cause public nuisance. And we found with other premises that they have accepted a management plan for couriers, and we have limited the places where the couriers can operate, because otherwise it does lead to severe numbers of complaints against the premises and the license, because it creates public nuisance. So it's very much your responsibility. It's very serious, this, because if you do create more public nuisance, you're risking your own licence.
This the answer of him. The note what was happening with the garage. Young people don't understand the noise. Don't know what is it when they are, if they are not restricted. Young people are curious. Curious are young people. And you know, they don't even understand there is a problem. So imagine what happened after a while. If you don't restrict it, maximum, not only this, but also the staff and the customers, you know, they think you are crazy when you say, look, don't you disturb me. They think you are old man. You are crazy. Whoa. That's what happened.
Okay, thank you for that. Number 22.
Before we move to 22, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Because it's not very clear to me how the delivery services work with an alcohol license. So let's assume if I didn't apply for an alcohol license today, do I need to get, as far as I'm aware, I'm not required to get any license to do deliveries.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So reason that it is related, the delivery services is related to the alcohol license is because of the possibility that I might be delivering alcohol?
Correct.
Because other than that, there is really I don't see any correlation between the two methods where any potential nuisance that the drivers might cause, who are not my employees but the delivery company's employees, has nothing to do with the consumption of alcohol. So it's only for the delivery of the alcohol. So it's just not very clear to me.
It's a grey area, I understand, but we have dealt with this issue with premises like Get Here, where they deliver alcohol and they also deliver non-alcoholic products. And whilst primarily, yes, if alcohol is linked, then it can be conditioned. But we have received advice which says that even if you have got an alcohol licence, even if one element of the delivery is just non-alcohol, we still can have a condition on the licence. So obviously we're trying to prevent noise and nuisance. That's the whole purpose. So primarily, yes, for alcohol, but it is a catch-all situation because your business runs with an alcohol licence.
Okay, so my final point would be, I understand your concern, and we will be willing to do what we need to do in terms of controlling the drivers. But I think you are really talking about a much wider problem of delivery drivers. Most recently in Amsterdam, for example, they stopped businesses like Get Here to open warehouses for the next 12 months. But that decision making is really, I think, at a much different level. So as far as using the Muse for deliveries, I think if you're allowed to do the deliveries, we would like to use that door within the hours we are permitted to do so, because the front door would not be particularly appropriate.
And that will be the 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for the other deliveries. So you're saying deliveries as in collections, if the council if the committee were minded to accept deliveries, collections from Munro Muse, you would limit that to the rear door between 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and then after those times from the front door at Golborne Road. Is that what you're saying?
So previously the deliveries that I've agreed to was the incoming deliveries that we were having.
I understand.
For the outgoing deliveries,
Yeah.
I would like to have the ability to be able to do that within our normal license hours.
Okay, well, that could be a decision for the council.
Of
Okay,
course,
I understand your
that's
position there.
my-
Yeah.
Can I say the final thing I forgot to tell you? Can I?
Yes.
A few years ago, I don't know if you know about it or you welcome it. A crash was asked for a license for 1 hour a day or 1 day a week. I don't remember, many years ago, 6, 7 years ago. And the people said, this produced noise. They objected, and the license was not given for a simple reason. No, children in the crash make noise. And the same should be for this license. They produce noise inevitably. Why we should live in the noise? Day and night for 24 hours. Sorry, night and day and night for 7 days a week. 7 days a week.
Thank you.
Can I make one final remark?
Yes.
If obviously, as you said, it is going to be the council's decision. If you are inclined to put a restriction on delivery hours from the Muse, could I suggest, and could you please consider that you only put a restriction for deliveries that includes alcohol? Because that is really what I feel like should be within the jurisdiction of the
I will go away and check that point, but I think the whole point is to do with noise at the end of the day. And you can't see whether something's got alcohol in the delivery or not from the outside, but we will go away and check that point.
Yeah.
But I understand, I hear what you're saying.
It's something.
Obviously, the Muse is residential, and that this is where we're getting the complaints from, the rear of the Muse.
But that can transparently be seen. So it is on the record whether we sell alcohol or not. And it is not really our intention, to be honest, to sell alcohol with delivery. I mean, it doesn't happen much.
Right, can we move on, please?
Yes.
Right, number 22, sales of alcohol for consumption off the premises shall only be supplied with an ancillary to a takeaway meal. So your delivery drivers can't just sell alcohol on its own. It has to be with food.
Yeah, that's
And the same in your little, if you do get a parklet terrace, it's got to be with food. Is that okay?
the first point I understand. What was the second point?
If you get a pavement license or a license for the trader's pitch,
Yeah.
you can't just sell alcohol there. It's got to be in conjunction with food.
Yes.
Okay. Yep, and I just wanted to, in terms of smoking, where will your staff smoke?
Can I ask one question before we move on? Now, the pavement bit that you just referred to.
Yeah.
Now, how is that related to the nibbles versus a substantial meal discussion we had earlier? Is it the same?
It's the same. So you want nibbles rather than substantial meal as previously?
Yes. Yes. Correct.
Okay. So again, that's for the councillors to decide.
So it could be like olives, a cheese platter. I don't know what is the border of a nibble versus a substantial meal, but we have sharing plates, like you said, like I said. So we would like to have the flexibility.
Okay, thank you.
But just to clarify, this is not a bar. This is a restaurant. But that we might have
The occasional
clientele who may wish to have a smaller nibble. Okay.
Right. In terms of staff smoking, are you willing to have a designated area? Obviously, ideally, we prefer it not to be in the Muse. I think that's the impression I'm getting from the objector. Where will your staff smoke? Would you direct them to smoke along Goulburn Road or?
So, I would imagine the more appropriate place for that would to tell them to go outside of the door, but walk until the gates that Mr. Monzi referred to. You know, the gates which are the Muse is closed from one side now.
Are there gates either end of the Muse?
They're not gates. They are what do you call them? Just to block the car entrance.
Bollards.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it stops cars going in, but it doesn't stop
Yeah.
pedestrians. Okay.
So.
Sorry, I'm just trying to look at the map. So whereabouts are you saying that staff would smoke? Sorry, I'm just
So this is at the end of the short leg of the L we were discussing.
So your end, not the other end?
Our end, yes.
Okay, and how would they gain access? Through the front door and go round?
No, for the back door and out.
Right, so smoke at gates. So via Monroe Mews to gates at end of Mews. Yes, yes. Yeah.
They will complain, the people there. If they smoke there, there is other building. They will complain.
There is a limit to how much we can control smoking, but obviously we don't want smoke.
No, there is a place just 20 meters from there, a street where there is a school. There is nobody there. And they can go there. There's
Okay.
no car, no nothing.
Okay, we will look at the plan. Right, and lastly, the last condition, in terms of this rear door, the councillors have suggested keeping it closed except for emergencies, but you're saying keeping it closed except for emergencies and deliveries. Is that correct?
No, not exactly correct.
Okay.
I would like to have the ability to open if the temperature is too hot inside, for example, just like any other neighbor can open their doors.
Open but not locked.
Excuse me, I couldn't hear.
Do you want to chip in?
This is for the legal officer. When we have music played in the premises, we usually have very strict conditions about the music coming out, which causes public nuisance. And the licensee has to offer or is obliged by law to support the licensing condition not to cause nuisance. By having doors open, you cause noise nuisance in residential areas. Now, the Muse is a residential area, and the applicant talks about having to have the door open on hot evenings for ventilation. But this to me is a classic case of where leaving a door open leads to noise nuisance. So he's either got to give way on the music, or he's got to give way on the door and provide proper ventilation for the kitchen. But I don't think he can have both. He can't have music and open doors.
So the applicant, what about air conditioning? Do you not have air conditioning inside your restaurant so you don't need the door open during the day?
So we will have air conditioning. At the moment, there isn't one. And maybe actually that was one of the reasons that the previous neighbors particularly disturbed our neighbor. But we are installing an air condition, both for heating and cooling. In terms of keeping the door open, I understand, I see your point. I do not know what my legal right is, to be honest. You know, it's very similar to a resident above playing music and keeping his window open. As long as the music does not disturb anyone, then I believe it is acceptable. And I guess it's the same for the retail, but I don't know the answer. I would like to hear what.
I think the answer is the committee can add conditions which they consider necessary,
Okay.
appropriate and proportionate. And if they consider that leaving the door open, other than for deliveries and emergencies, they can certainly add a condition to that effect.
Okay, understood.